The Billionaire, The Continuum, a story by Petra Nicoll. This has been a lot of fun writing this story down. And how did it come about? Well, it was one of those moments in time where you hear something and your mind can't stop. You get pretty excited. It was actually my boyfriend who told me about this story of what he encountered when he went down to LA to close on a really big deal. And somebody had taken him to a meeting with an organization, and I cannot really name the organization, so I have to change the name in the book about that. And it was a organization that has billionaires and millionaires literally sign over all their money, and then they're promised that when they die, they will inherit or get this money back in their next incarnation. When I heard the story, I literally rolled on the carpet laughing because I thought it was the funniest thing that somebody would believe that they would earn their money back in the next life. I thought that was really, really, really quite funny. But that night, I woke up around 3 or 4 in the morning and had the idea about this book. And I'll summarize it here for you quickly. It's about a billionaire who also grows up as a billionaire. His name is Derek Streicher. He is 6'4", tall, blonde, handsome man, muscular. He is raised by parents who have a lot of money and is mostly in a situation where nannies are basically raising him rather than his parents because they're so busy always traveling and doing business elsewhere. Derek has a few experiences as a child where he feels quite abandoned, and as a result of that, as he becomes an adult and inherits all this money from his parents, his focus is money only. He marries his high school sweetheart, has 3 children with her, and she ends up hurting her back and gets on a bunch of pain cocktails, methadone, etc., and loses one of the children to SIDS and subsequently develops depression. 3 of his children, 2 of them are on drugs, 1 of them is in the Peace Corps, that's the one he's close to. Derek is in some ways a borderline narcissistic psychopathic personality. He has lots of hotels in Thailand, namely Bangkok, that he inherited from his father. And there are some scenes in the book about human trafficking, which I won't talk about too much. It has some pretty racy situations there. He is diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he's in his late 50s right now. And when he finds out that he's dying, he is like Alexander the Great. He can't believe that somebody like him would be dying with all this money in the world. And how could he not buy himself out? His best friend from prep school, Peter, comes forward. Peter has allegiance to Derek because Derek has given him a lot of money for business, and therefore Peter is always around in his life. He takes him to the secret society meeting that I mentioned earlier. It's called Gemini. And he gives them basically 99% of his wealth and signs this very strange trust deed to give the money over to them. When he dies, he goes into the afterlife and meets his guide that is assigned to him. His name is Nicoll. Nicoll is, we don't know in the story if he's an angel or what he is, and Nicoll, his job is to show him life review. And in his life review, there are 2 scenes that are particularly disturbing where Derek had given $500 million to two people to build a casino, and the market tanks, and something goes wrong with the casino, and they owe him all this money, and he goes after them pretty viciously, and both of them commit suicide. One of them hangs himself, and the other one shoots himself in the head. And Michael takes Derek through life review, where he has to experience the moment of death, of what that is like. He comes out of that transformed and begs Michael that he would never be rich again as long as he lives, thinking about this contract he signed, and asks Michael to please just let him come back as a beggar in Calcutta, and that he gets it now, and that being wealthy and famous doesn't mean anything when you're crossing over. Michael, in that moment, this is where the story gets really interesting, because at that moment Michael says to him, "Sorry, Derek, but you signed the contract." So for the reader in the book, until then, most people would probably think that how could somebody be that ignorant to sign this contract and give this money over and not give it to some other organization, but it actually then upholds. So at that moment, that chapter closes, and we're now in Brownsville, Oregon, where a young boy is born. His name is Eli, and his parents are wonderful farmers, musicians. They have lots of animals, and they're very, very loving and kind. And Eli gets a lot of attention. He's a little blonde boy with blue eyes, and just smart and talented, and super, super sweet and kind. He is given a guitar when he's about 3 years old, and shows aptitude right away. He learns the piano and the flute, and his father gives him one more instruments as he gets older. By the time he's 6, he's already performing in front of friends and family. And by the time he's 12, he has a school band. By the time he is 16, he signs his first record contract, and he becomes, in fact, the biggest rock star that has ever lived on the face of the planet, even bigger than Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Stones, the Beatles, any of those. So he becomes super, super wealthy and very, very famous. What's so cool about the story is he's on his 25th birthday. He is in Wembley Stadium in London, in England, and there are 80,000 people in the audience. He sings his number one song when suddenly he hears a voice in his head calling his name. It really startles him. And finally the voice subsides, and he manages to play his song in front of all these people. That night there's a big party for him in the penthouse of one of the famous hotels in London. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, he goes back to his suite with a couple of models and some champagne bottles, and they lay down and fall asleep. Half an hour later, he wakes up out of a deep sleep and goes to the bathroom. And in the bathroom, there's this golden, beautiful mirror. And as he is washing his hands, he looks into the mirror, and suddenly a face appears. He thinks, oh my gosh, maybe somebody laced my drink or joint or something. So he is obviously very scared. And in that moment, the face comes even further out of the mirror, bending down toward him, and literally in front of him near the floor. He's super, super spooked, and at that point, Michael tells him who he is, and what's going on is that his guide has come for him to guide him through life. So the next part of the book is about Eli being groomed to be an enlightened being, or being a superhero, where he talks about karma and the environment and about what's going on our planet. He's being instructed about the radio hertz frequency that Carlos Santana was working on with the Supernatural album. in the Fibonacci scale. He talks about how our planet has to continue and how we can change the frequency for everyone. He speaks of government and manipulation and control of the people, and he teaches Eli how to move through life in an effective way with the money he has, and also he teaches him how to get back to his 12 billion or 11 billion that he had before he died in his last life. And also there's going to be some balancing going on between Derek Streicher's life of abusing certain things, and Eli has to balance that. So it's a really fun story. Thanks for listening. I'm excited about the book. I hope you read it, and I'll keep you informed. Arrivederci. Bye-bye.